just checking. Does it look as though everybody's arrived and we can start?
Yes. Yeah, we just got one more person to admit.
Okay.
Thanks. That's it.
If you just give me the thumbs up sign, I'll see. I can see them.
Okay.
No.
We'll just keep letting them in, obviously.
Oh, yes. Please do that. Okay. So, welcome to this morning's session. It's a very lovely, beautiful morning here. And I was just thinking, sometimes you just feel the goodness of the day. Sometimes you just feel the goodness of the day, which connects with the theme that I will be exploring, we'll be exploring together this morning, which is the theme of gratitude. But I'm very obviously in the shrine room here, but outside it's sunlight, delicate sort of shading on the clouds. The long view is of the sheep and the near view is of the earth sky garden. It's all bathed in sunlight and it just feels, well, it just feels like the goodness of the day which we've been given. It's quite a long day, so it's probably a good thing to be starting off with a very positive start. So we'll put on chat the program for this evening. So this morning I'm talking about gratitude and we're exploring that. We'll have the usual pattern in the afternoon. And then in the evening we will start at 8 with a sequence of events with breaks interspersed in between, going up to about 12:15. So I feel quite excited about that because it feels like a real sense of occasion and a very sort of rich flow of practice. So I do encourage you to come and be there and stay there if you can. But obviously, you know, people have different health conditions, people are living in different circumstances, so don't feel that you have to do more than you can do or for as long as you can do as well. And just a reminder that this is probably about the third or fourth time we've asked you about this, but just a reminder to bring your bird seed or your millet for this evening, for the first session this evening, where in our different ways we will scatter that to the beings in our landscapes. And I'll say more about the detail of that, if that's not literally possible for you, you don't have access to a garden or a landscape or whatever, then there are always alternatives which I'll explain. And what we do is both literal, physical, real, and it's also deeply symbolic. But do come along with something like that you can give to living beings. And it's a long tradition here, very long tradition here of doing that. And for the very last session, there's a break beforehand. It's fine to turn up in your pajamas with a cup of cocoa in your hand or whatever else will work for you in terms of getting to bed as quickly as possible afterwards. So let's have a few minutes of just sitting, and then I'll be sharing my thoughts around gratitude. Just a chance to settle, tune in to being where you are at the moment, your deepening space of practice. Here again this morning, you faithfully return. And I'll just remind you of the protection of our mandala before you just sit. Around this mandala, the sacred spot, may the lotus petals of purity open. Around this mandala, the sacred spot, may the vajral wall of determination extend. Around this mandala, the sacred spot, may the flames that transmute samsara into nirvana arise. So the theme of this morning is gratitude, such a very positive expression of our connection with others. And Bhante said that gratitude was probably part of any positive emotion. So this morning I want to explore gratitude in terms of our relationship with others, gratitude as part of our response to the universe, our natural world, gratitude for having heard the Dharma in this lifetime, and just at the very end, opening out into gratitude for life. So one could say that gratitude is the antidote to various human tendencies, mean-mindedness, cynicism, suspicion, grumbling, guarding the self, or even doubting one's own worth. And it is, of course, about generosity, about the spirit of Dharma, about receptivity on both sides, and about connection, flow, and a sense of abundance. It's about the giver and the gift, loosening boundaries of our seemingly fixed selves. So the gift can be, so many different things. It can be an object, it can be time, it could be taking interest, various qualities, patience, kindness, faithfulness, not turning away, just being there. And it's not just about two people, but very often it is. There can be a kind of collective gratitude as well. And we'll all remember, I think, the time last year when we were going out in the evening to express together with our neighbours our gratitude to the NHS and those people who were giving so much to us at the time. Quite a special event. So I gathered on my Victorian street, ringing my Vajra bell. I was very conscious, as I'm sure you were, of having a connection with my neighbours who up to then had just been passers-by in my life. And also knowing that this was happening across the country and happening across other countries. So it's shared gratitude, a response in troubled times, and we are enriched, affected and changed by it. I have a different relationship when I pass my neighbours now. And of course, traditionally, the best gift, as we will come on to later, is the gift of the Dharma, which could be teaching, exemplification, practicing together, spiritual friendship, Sangha. So coming back to the human connections and probably more the person-to-person connections, for the giver, it's very much about positive intention and how that expresses itself. So the kindly impulse and then planning, effort, maybe ardor, energy, philia, receptivity to how the other person is, taking someone in, maybe with compassion, maybe with gladness. It might be carefully planned, it might just be spontaneous, the response of the moment. And as a receiver, it may be something that you really like and you really need, or it may not be quite like that. But what is really valuable is the intention behind it and the connection that flows. And we all of us also know that, well, sometimes it's lovely to say that somebody gave you something, you know, to say, Ratnavandana gave me that, Maitri Siddhi gave me that, Maitri Devi gave me that. And to communicate, to share the gifts that we have received and to let that continue in a flow of positive emotion. And sometimes it's a long time of giving, years of practical help, patience, kindness, standing alongside, ups and downs, still being there. And one can, investigate how does it feel, how does gratitude express itself We can feel moved. Our response could be a smile. We could be close to tears. We could be in tears. We could in our old lives take someone's hand. We could hug someone. Or we might not feel very much. It might not have that instant effect. Bhante, in his talk on gratitude, points out that the meaning of gratitude, the translation of gratitude is the word Katanyata, and that is actually indicating the cognitive experience, not the emotional experience. So it is the recognition of the kindness, the recognition of the intention. It's a wise discernment. It's knowing the quality of the giving. And that's very helpful, head and heart. So it's receiving a gift is not about being sentimental. It's not about a kind of wish fulfillment view of what has been offered to you, nor is it unnecessary questioning, nor is it a bit of guilt. Oh, I've just taken her off my Christmas card list, and now she's given me this. But it can lead to a re-evaluation of a friendship and a change and a shift in it. So it's very good to have that wise response, as well as whatever the heart response, the body response might be. And we are, as always, really with the mystery of another human being and the surprise of what they may do. And our emotional response may be joyful, sober, moved, appreciative, or it may be more of that kind of head response immediately. And sometimes we live with our gifts for a long time as well, so it's an unfolding response. What arises is volition, positive volition, the wish to thank, appreciate, give in return, rejoice, tell others. So we can set up, as I mentioned earlier, a flowing of giving and gratitude, maybe mudita, a flow of gladness. It's a bit like in the old days, we used to send far more cards to express our appreciation, to express our thanks, and communication has changed now. But there's still that pleasure in the post of a square white envelope arriving with your name handwritten on it and seeing it and thinking, oh yes, what will this be? What will this be? So various ways in which we can express our appreciation. In the Japanese tradition, they have a practice called Naikan, which has come into teachings of psychotherapy in the West, which is about the expansiveness of gratitude and also really the exploration of gratitude. So in that practice, you're encouraged at the end of the day to reflect, what have I been given today? What have I been given today? And then also, what have I given today? And in that particular practice, it's also, what else could I have given today? And they hold that, as I'll come on to, also in response to our relationship with the whole world, with the universe as well. So we associate gifts a lot with our friends, and then there's also, of course, the kindness of strangers, of passers-by, of neutral people. I think people are often very kind to me, actually. People, particularly strangers, passers-by, seem to be often very kind to me. I always remember a woman in India who was standing on the edge of a dual carriageway and she was begging. I didn't give anything to her because I decided I was going to give in another way after that pilgrimage. And then she thought I was going to cross the busy road. Wasn't going to do it, but she thought I wasn't. And she just put out her hand. She put out her hand to stop me. So I hadn't given anything, and she'd given that, well, potentially life-saving in return. I also remember staying in Amsterdam. I have a very poor sense of direction, which means I often need people to show me the way, practically, physically, to show me the way. And I was staying with Advagita in this rather geometrical complex of housing, and I couldn't find my way to the house. And I asked a guy in his front garden, and he said, oh yes, that's fine, come in. So he took me through his house, took me through the back door, He took me to the garden, and then he started to break down the hedge at the back so that I could go through, which is the point where I said, oh, hang on, I can manage. But just that passing generosity, the recognition of the need. And also, I think in shops, phone conversations with people we don't know. It's so important to have a sense that there is another person there, particularly at the end of a phone line. And also to thank specifically. You know, thank you for taking me to find this. You know, thank you for calling me back about that. And you can feel a shift in the response. And with people who we can find more difficult, well, we can be surprised by what they may choose to give us. And often they give us challenges which have ultimately a positive effect in our lives. So there are many situations, maybe every situation, all these possibilities. None of us are perfect. We meet in our imperfection, and it doesn't have to be the perfect gift. So moving on to that sense of gratitude to the universe, a kind of existential gratitude, held very much again in the Japanese tradition. So this is to nature, to what these days we describe as the environment, but actually something very, very deep inner connection with. So where we are deeply connected, what sustains our life, what sustains our world. You know, the apple tree that gives us fruit, the bird that sings at dusk, what gives us pleasure, aesthetic pleasure, refined pleasure, as well as what actually meets our physical needs. And the moon, maybe the full moon that lights the night sky and the morning sunshine. And the elements, you know, gratitude for earth, water, rain, air, fire, space. And the gratitude can extend to the inanimate, to the objects of our world, the familiar objects, your favourite chair, the plate that holds your food, the blanket that keeps you warm. So I'd like to move on now more into the spiritual context. So move on towards gratitude for receiving the gift of the Dharma. So gratitude to our spiritual friends, more experienced than us, less experienced than us, all that they give us in the flow of our connection and the flow of our practice, sometimes over years and years, sometimes a really significant meeting, losing touch, meeting again, but knowing what we benefit from in terms of Sangha and in terms of those friendships. Appreciation. I'd like to mention one actually. This is coming back to Bhagavad Gita. There's a very good friend to me, a public preceptor. She'd established the movement in Amsterdam. She was Dutch. She lived here for quite a long time. Very lovely woman who died of cancer a few years ago. And for many of us, her way of dying was a deep loss, but there was so much richness and courage there that it was also a gift. She died with wisdom, with love, with gracefulness. And another example from Amsterdam, when I was staying with her, when I was lost again, and I was going home, because I didn't have room for me to stay in her flat, so I was staying elsewhere, and I couldn't find my way, so I went back to ask her. And you know, she'd sort of settled a bit for her evening, just her day with Samantabhadri, she kind of settled. And when I went in and explained, something happened. On the one hand, she sort of began to get up, you know, she's going to go and get her coat, take me there. And on the other hand, her face just completely lit up. And I don't exactly know what that meant, but she was illumined. She was kind of illumined in her response and with her kindness. So she gave me the gift of taking me home. And probably symbolically, she's done that as well. But that night, she gave me the gift of taking me home. And she gave me that vision of her illumination and her kindness and the depth of her practice. So I feel gratitude to my friends, appreciation of my friends. I feel gratitude to those who love me or care for me in some way, with my failings. And when speaking about gratitude, this is the point I always like to bring in a favourite quotation. This is from W.B. Yeats, the Municipal Gallery we visited. He's in the main art gallery in Dublin, quite well on in his life, but he's walking past portraits of famous people, and those famous people are also his friends because he was a famous person. And he's just really touched and honoured by the friends that he has had in his life. So he says, or he writes, ask where our glory most begins and ends, and say my glory was I had such friends. Say it again. Ask where our glory most begins and ends, and say my glory was I had such friends. Lovely way of honouring and honouring others. His glory was the friendship from others. And connecting with that and with what I said about Bhagavad Gita, it's very important to express gratitude to people while they are still alive, and while we are still alive. Living in a world that is impermanent, we can't leave things too late. So it's really important to write that card, send that gift, offer that smile. Just do it while we can. So moving on even more to spiritual gratitude, that we have the Dharma in our lives this lifetime. We have been given the gift of the Dharma. And the Buddha felt gratitude. He expressed gratitude in many ways in his life, but straight after his enlightenment, still on his own, he chose to express his gratitude to the tree that sheltered him while he was achieving his enlightenment. So again, as I've touched on before, that sense of what is the connection with nature? What did he feel and see in the Bodhi tree that made him wish to bow to it? And what was the effect on that tree? Because with some trees, certainly in the teaching later, they would burst into blossom, blossom would have fallen from them. But that mysterious relationship, but that respect, that gratitude. And the Buddha's enlightenment gave us this very precious opportunity which we have in our lives. And that opportunity is defined by teachers like, for example, Gampopa, that a Buddha has been born in our lifetimes. We live in a world where a Buddha has been born in the past. He taught the Dharma. We have heard the Dharma and have the personal and objective conditions where we can practice it. So that is fantastic. You know, we know the story of the old blind turtle that once in 100 years comes up to the surface of the vast ocean where there's that hoop floating. And if the turtle can get its head through the hoop, then they are able to go for refuge. So this is a very, very rare, very precious opportunity. And one could say that for us too, it is, of course, as if a light has been shone in the darkness. You know, we can recite the refuges and precepts every day. We can do that. We can express our devotion. We can express our going for refuge. We can live the Dharma life. And we in Triratna, in the Triratna community, have our lineage, beginning with the Buddha, going down through the centuries, through all those great teachers, coming down to Bhante. And we have a phrase about Bhante, which we use in one of our order meditation practices. He has given us the gift of the Dharma. He has given us the gift of the Dharma, the primary giver. And then we have other teachers who have passed that on to us, other teachers in the movement who have passed that on and continued the teaching. But Bhante has given us the gift of the Dharma. So we can feel gratitude to him, And to all those who have gone before us, friends of the Western Buddhist order, Western Buddhist order, the Sri Ratna community. So many early pioneers, and it depends how long you've been in the movement, how much you have a direct sense of those people. But we can appreciate what they gave us, including many men who set up centres and spiritually and physically built them in those early days, in hard times. But also I'd like to acknowledge the women pioneers, to whom we can feel very grateful. Our lineage, women ordaining women, very, very special, rare. And that's right down to the most recent woman closing the door on the ordination committee. It's the continuity of that flow happened down to her and then will just continue. And we can also feel grateful for our retreat centres, for our women's retreat centres, rare places in the world, special places in the Buddhist world. And I think already we've been expressing a lot of gratitude to Taraloka, but well, for us, 3 great places, and I'm just going to give their names, which are wonderful names. So let's hold our gratitude for Taraloka, the realm of Tara, for Ratnaloka, the realm of the 3 jewels, and for Akashavana, the forest of luminous space. Forest of luminous space. Wonderful, marvelous. And remember not only the vision, but also the effort of finding the property, the effort of building and renovating, the effort of maintaining it physically and spiritually as a place of deep practice for generations of women. The effort and the vision of keeping it going at the moment. So this lifetime, we have so much. We live in troubled times, but we have so much. And I know when the first lockdown started, I had this real sense, I had this sense anyway, but so strongly, I just said, well, all I can do is go for refuge. And I trust that I've been doing that, but also, of course, habit and familiarity can still come in. It's not as bad as you thought it might have been, and so on. But always, but particularly in troubled times, all we can do is go for refuge. And we are able to do it for ourselves and for the benefit of all beings. So also as I get older, I think more about setting up conditions for the next lifetime, to have the precious opportunity where I can be grateful for it again in another lifetime. And I don't know how all of that might manifest, the details of rebirth. But, well, I would wish to find the Dharma again and wish it to be within my reach. I sometimes think of the Jataka tales and those future disciples and companions of the Buddha who met him again and again as he himself was following his bodhisattva path to be ready to sit under the Bodhi tree in this universe, in this world. All that was playing out there. And I think, well, might I meet my friends in the future life? Again, have the blessing of that spiritual community. Are the connections strong enough? We would be the same and we would be not the same. Might I turn away? Might I feel too busy, too distracted, other priorities? Might I not recognize the building that I was entering? Even though the sign outside held a mysterious resonance, even though the landscape somehow seemed to remind me of something, that tree, that pond, that sweep of grass. So it could be in the next life that my glory would still be that I have such friends. But what matters actually also is that my thoughts return now. To now, using this precious opportunity and the practice that I do now will have its consequences in this lifetime and whatever they are in the next. So we've been given the gift of the Dharma. Within that, of course, we have the mythic, the transcendental, which is eternally true and is manifesting for us now, manifesting in this room now. Shakyamuni behind me, green Tara in front of me, Vajrasattva to one side, and the earth sky garden coming into being outside. So always there, manifesting now. The Buddha always shines with the colour of gold. Green Tara always reaches out her hand. Vajrasattva always holds his Vajra and his bell. So maybe the deepest gratitude is that we have known this within our lives. Gratitude for what is here, now, these moments, this precious opportunity. So moving closer to the end. So gratitude is about moving beyond self. It has been said that gratitude is part of any insight experience. I think we see our incompleteness and we see how we can become more complete, more connected. So it's about a flow, giver, gift, recipient, response. And we could say in the mystery of emptiness, in the mystery of insights, no giver of the gift is found. We could say no receiver of the gift is found. And we may not even know the substance of the gift. So it's about relationship, connectedness, vision, love. And quite simply, when we're truly feeling gratitude, we're deeper, truer human beings. So I put all this talk together. I've spoken about gratitude to others, gratitude to the universe, gratitude for having heard the Dharma. Put all of those things together, and this is what I realized yesterday evening, put all of those things together, and what we have is gratitude for life, gratitude for being alive on all these levels, the playing out of experience. So I'm going to just end with two quotations relevant to that, two expressions of that. The first is David White in prose. This is an extract. Gratitude is the understanding that many millions of things come together and live together and mesh together and breathe together in order for us to take even one more breath of air. That the underlying gift of life, an incarnation as a living, participating human being, is a privilege. That we are miraculously part of something rather than nothing. Even if that something is temporary pain or despair, we inhabit a living world with real faces, real voices, laughter, the colour blue, the green of the fields, the freshness of a cold wind, or the tawny hue of a winter landscape. To see the full, miraculous essentiality of the colour blue is to be grateful with no necessity for a word of thanks. To see fully the beauty of a daughter's face is to be fully grateful without having to seek a God to thank him. To sit among friends and strangers hearing many voices, strange opinions, to intuit inner lives beneath surface lives, to inhabit many worlds at once in this world, to be a someone amongst all other someones, and therefore to make a conversation without saying a word, is to deepen our sense of presence, and therefore our natural sense of thankfulness that everything happens both with us and without us, that we are participants and witness all at once. Birds seem to be calling out in appreciation at the side of the shrine room. And this is Ryokan, so a few centuries before David Whyte. It's, I think it's one of his finest poems. And he gave up his place in the monastic world to become more of a wanderer and to become a life where he depended on begging. So he depended on the generosity, the gifts of others. And it's a bit as though his begging bowl is just held out for what life gives him. Because also he appreciates every moment. If you read his longer poems, it's just one experience after another. Simple experience which he appreciates, recognizes, is grateful for. And within that also, of course, there is his spiritual path. Within all of that and explicitly within that. But let's just finish with him. Spring. Slowly, the peaceful sounds of a priest's staff drifts from the village. In the garden, green willows. Water plants float serenely in the pond. My bowl is fragrant from the rice of 1,000 homes. My heart has renounced the sovereignty of riches and worldly fame, quietly cherishing the memory of the ancient Buddhas. I walk to the village for another day of begging. Okay, so well, we can move on to exploring gratitude, firstly through a piece of free writing and then through practicing a gratitude bhavana meditation practice. So for the writing, this is free writing. So you pick up your pen, you're given the beginning of a sentence, and then you just write. So it's interesting, Ratnavardhana led us in reflection, and reflection is also not very consciously, actively thinking things through, but being sort of open, receptive, maybe dropping things in and so on. And so it goes deeper. And free writing also means we don't have time to plan and decide what we want to say and decide what we like to say and so on. It happens. So in a way that also can go deeper. But at the time we are just writing, whatever happens, whatever it is. So you have two questions. I'll give them to you one at a time. And it's probably just about 7 minutes of writing. So it's not very long. So just take your pen, write, let it happen, let it be. So, and it's important that you just write down. Actually, I say it and you write it down. So I haven't put it into chat. It's really good just to hear it and to be writing it down now. So first, the first phrase, which will begin your first sentence. This year, I was given. Okay. This year, I was given. So off we go. second opening phrase. This year I gave. This year I gave. So just take the next 5 minutes to reread what you wrote and underline anything that felt well, more significant, more meaningful, more important for you. So, as it were, well, the highlights really of what you wrote, the spiritual highlights, the interesting things there, which you would wish to remember. We haven't got very much time to fully take in that exercise. You might want to look back later today at another time at what you wrote. And it's also said of the gratitude diaries, it's really important to keep rereading it. Really important to remember, to keep that connection, to keep our inspiration. So we're going to conclude the morning with a gratitude bhavana. If you'd like to take up your meditation spaces, and then I'll explain what that practice includes. So I trust that you're all in your meditation space, settled there. So this is a gratitude bhavana which I've devised to follow the themes of my talk earlier on. So the stages, now actually I'll tell you the stages as we come to them. I won't bother about explaining them now, they will make complete sense to you. So let's just settle into the practice. It's 5 stages. I'm not going to spend very long leading in because I trust we are in a flow around this kind of experience and around the experience of gratitude. So just settling. If you do so, just contacting the sense of your body in your meditation space. Maybe just a sense of the flow of your breathing. And just resting your awareness around the heart area, however it is. And we'll begin in the first stage, just sitting with metta for ourselves. Just sitting with metta for ourselves. Bring to mind someone for whom you hold feelings of gratitude and dwell with your well-wishing for that person. Someone for whom you hold feelings of gratitude. Bringing to mind quite a few people to whom you feel or have felt gratitude. Bring a sense perhaps of them around you, maybe even surrounding you, being with them, wishing them well. A number of people for whom you feel or have felt gratitude. So now, as your gratitude flows on, bring to mind our world, nature, maybe birds, flowers, rivers, rocks, stones, moonlight, sunlight, whatever touches your heart, and hold it in your loving awareness. And finally, gratitude for the gift of the Dharma. Gratitude for the gift of the Dharma. So in your own time, just move into just a few minutes of just sitting, letting go, relaxing, simply being.